Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Just allowing yourself to come down into your body. So imagining a golden ball of energy right here, third chakra, hara, solar plexus. So just between your belly button and your bottom ribs. If that area feels disconnected, you can always bring your hands onto it. Bring one hand in the front, one hand in the back. Sometimes it's nice just to kind of give it a little bit of rub, and you can have your other hand on your heart. But you want to bring your awareness into that space and imagine a ball of energy there. And then just running a line from that ball of energy down into the floor, down into the earth, all the way into the center of the earth. So we go from our hara to the earth's hara, the center of the earth. We connect in with the mother, divine feminine, sacred mother. And then we draw up from our hara all the way up through the crown of the head, all the way up to our sun. So the center, the hara of our solar system. To the sacred father, divine masculine. So as we sit here centered in our own power source, we feel ourselves feeding from above and below, from masculine and feminine, from mother and father. And we can draw energy from those places. We can also release energy to those places. So things that are just no longer serving you, patterns, habits, people, places, things, anything you're ready to let go of, you can think about offering that energy up or down, wherever it needs to go. And you don't have to know where it needs to go. You can just say, go where you need to go. You can also use this energy to call in support physically in the body. So areas that you're feeling are really tight, sore, achy, stressed, tense. Just imagining, so if you've got, even if you've got an injury, anything like that, imagining that you are using the energy of clearing, so releasing up or down, to move stuff from that area. So I know we talked a lot about neck and shoulder pain today. So you can kind of think, okay, I'm just going to let that relax, and does it need to go up or does it need to go down, and just watch where it goes. And then think about pulling in healing energy from either above or below, or both. And filling up those places in the body that are feeling like they need support. You're feeling injured or weak or tense, just stressed. We'll take a couple more deep breaths here with this meditation. And opening your eyes. We'll come into some movement. We're going to start off with a whole side body stretch. So you're just going to come into your left hip, lengthen the legs out, down the mat. And you want to find yourself nice and long. So as you look down your body, your butt's not behind you, your feet aren't out in front of you. Everything's in one long line. And this should be a pretty deep stretch, right from the left hip up through the side body. And you want to relax into your shoulder here. So we're using the left arm like a kickstand, and we're sinking into that left shoulder, just letting the shoulder blade pop up. And then you can even drop your left ear towards the left shoulder here, a little pillow action. And we're trying to relax that shoulder blade as much as possible. So we're just softening all around the shoulder, allowing those muscles to release and a little bit more mobility to come up into the shoulder. A lot of times we think about mobility as we need to stretch something, and that's not necessarily true. Oftentimes we need to relax into something. So that's kind of what's happening here. We're relaxing into the shoulder, and we're stretching from the left hip up into the left rib cage and underarm. And just noticing if you're holding unnecessary tension in your face. So jaw, forehead, tongue. And bring your head up. You're going to bend your knees, bringing the knees right towards the edge of your mat, and then slide your right knee off away from you. Okay, so the right knee is down on the mat away from you. You're going to walk yourself up. So you're sitting on the left hip, knees are staggered. And then we're going to turn towards that right leg. Take the left hand down the right knee as far as it'll go. So that might be more on the thigh, or you might actually be able to hook it around the front of the shin. The other hand's just going to rest on your foot. And you're going to tuck your chin, and you're looking down at your right hip bone. Okay, so I'm looking straight down at my right hip bone. I'm drawing my belly back, and I'm really rounding. So I'm continuing to open up this left side body, rounding into my spine. So I'm opening up the left of the side of the spine. And then I should feel this around the inside of the shoulder blade, up along the spine, and then maybe all the way up into the neck and even into the ear. So if you feel like you want a deeper stretch here, You can keep pulling your midsection away from this right ankle. So you deepen the stretch into the left side body and left side back. So this pose is actually quite active. It looks as if I'm just kind of hanging out here, but I am really actively hanging onto the leg and pulling this section of my left side back away. So I'm drawing the belly in, pulling the torso away, taking the head and the arms towards the legs. So it's like a bow and arrow kind of thing going on here. We're going to roll ourselves back up. Swivel those legs around. So now we're on the right hip. Right leg goes down the mat. Left leg pops on top of it. And again, as I look down the legs, everything's in one long line. Pressing into my right hand, let the right side body sag towards the right wrist. Let that right shoulder hunch up. So we're really sinking into the shoulder. And then drop your right ear towards the right shoulder. A little pillow action here. Just notice for a second if this side is more intense or less intense than the other. See how much you can relax that right shoulder, relax your jaw, your forehead, your tongue. Breathe a little more deeply into your right side body, feeling the stretch coming from the right hip up into the right rib cage. A couple more deep breaths here. See if you can relax around the shoulder blade a bit more. And then gently picking up the head, Bending the knees, bringing the knees right to the edge of your mat. And then taking the left knee down in front of the right, so away from your body. You're gonna sit yourself up so you're on the right hip. Turn to face that left leg and take your right hand down towards the knee or shin as far as you can. So grabbing hold of whatever you can, whether it's the knee, the shin, the thigh. And you're gonna tuck your chin. You're again looking for this left hip bone, carving your belly back. And I'm rounding through my right side body, thinking of this like twisting, rounding action so that right next to my spine on the right side, I'm getting a nice stretch. And again, this is active as much as it looks like I'm just kind of hanging out in a yin pose. This is very much a yang pose. Creating that little bow and arrow action, pulling the ribs away from the legs, dropping the head down. And relax your face. Our face always wants to help us in every yoga pose. So relax your jaw, your forehead, your tongue. Keep pulling the belly back, rounding a little deeper with every exhale. Inhale, think about reaching the ribs away from the leg. Exhale, see if you can round a little bit more. Taking a couple more deep breaths here. Rounding up. Come back to have a seat, center. We're gonna do a little bit of Feldenkrais work. So kind of like how I was talking that we don't always have to stretch. Sometimes we have to release. Sometimes we also have to contract in order to get muscles to relax. So that's what we're going to do here. We're doing an exercise where essentially we're going to pull our shoulders up and we're going to hold them here for about 30 seconds. And then we're going to take 15 seconds to slowly, 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 slowly release them down. So when we stretch muscles in general, it takes at least a minute for those muscles to actually stop contracting. So as you go to stretch a muscle, your muscle spindles actually contract initially, and that lasts about 60 seconds before the muscles go, oh, great, she's not trying to kill us, and they start to slowly unwind, which is why a yin practice is so valuable, because we get those muscle spindles to fully relax, and then we can actually start getting into our ligaments and tendons, which are way past those muscles. So what we're going to do now is kind of trick the muscles by hyper tensing them and really holding and squeezing for a long period of time. And then we're going to slowly, 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 slowly relax those. And as we take those 15 seconds to relax, we're creating new neural pathways to teach our shoulders to lower down. So we kind of over contract and then we slowly release, and then we'll spend just a little bit of time breathing into those nice relaxed shoulders. And you'll feel like your neck gets much longer after this pose. And then we're going to essentially leave the neck alone for the rest of the class. Okay. And let me get my watch on so that I can see how long we're in this for. Okay. So what we're going to do is just shrug the shoulders up to the ears as tight as we can get them. Okay. So it's just going to be like a hyper shrug. So go ahead and pull your shoulders up and try not to take the face back. Think more of keeping the chin down, because you're actually going to feel that come forward in the throat and then under your collarbones. So those are our scalenes. Those should not feel like guitar strings, but they typically do feel like guitar strings. So when you tuck the chin down or these shoulders up, you're going to feel it much more in the chest. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of cramping in the intercostals between the ribs and the chest. That's great. We're totally looking for cramping. Cramping is a good thing in this exercise. And just breathe as much as you can. It's going to feel challenging to breathe up into the top of the lungs, so upper back, upper chest. It just highlights how tense we are and how we are not accessing our full lung capacity on a daily basis. You should be fatiguing. If you're not fatiguing at this point, you are superhuman. A couple more seconds here. And then we're going to release slowly. So for 15 counts, okay? Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to slowly start to release. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Turn your palms up on your legs so that you can encourage the shoulders to soften even more. Most likely the neck feels longer. There might be some residual cramping feeling around the collarbones, around the tops of the shoulder blades, just as those muscles fully ease into releasing. And use this opportunity to breathe as much as you can into your chest and upper back. Really exhaling and softening. Great. All right. So you're going to grab your blocks, put them at one end on the sides. I'm going to do a little gentle flow here with lots of chest and side body opening. So we're going to be focusing on opening from the pelvis up into the shoulder, not shoulder blades, but like, it's like going to call it shoulder pits, your armpits. It's the best way to put it. So we're going to start with our hips on tops of our knees, on top of our knees. Walk your blocks forward. You might need to walk yourself back. You're going to press the hands into the blocks as you drop the heart and the head down. So my butt is right on top of my knees. If you're back here, you want to move yourself forward to get your blocks forward. Okay. Dropping the head down. So we're compressing through the top of the shoulder blade, shoulder joints. We're opening up through the underside, through the rib cage, through the spine, the low back, and the belly.
see if you can really relax through the lower ribs. Oftentimes a couple of deep breaths. English is not working for me today.
Your breath is.
A couple of deep breaths will assist the diaphragm in softening, which attaches into those lower ribs. So you can really feel those floating ribs, those bottom ones softening. And that will melt into the upper belly, and finally into the low belly. Rounding through the spine, rolling up. You're going to tuck your toes and then send the hips forward into plank. Realign those blocks if you need to so that they're right under your shoulders. And you're going to keep the neck and shoulders super open. So I'm trying to keep as much space between my ears and my shoulders as possible. I roll over the tops of the feet. Drop the hips towards the mat. Legs stay super active here because I'm using my legs to drive my pelvis forward and down towards the blocks, okay? Then from there, I like a little softness in the elbows. Hug the elbows into your rib cage and peel the chest up towards the sky. Good. Come up into plank again. Make sure your hands are at the back of your blocks, hanging over the edge just a little bit to give you extra security. And then your butt goes up and back into downward facing dog. So we've got a lifted down dog here. It's going to give us a little bit more space to stretch into our legs. Make sure those shoulders are moving away from the ears. The neck is nice and long and your head is just hanging. Let that weight of the head really traction out through the neck. I'm going to take the blocks with me and walk myself backwards into a standing forward fold. So you can use the blocks for support here if you'd like, or bring the hands down onto the mat. But again, we let the head hang and traction out the upper back. If you want a little bit more of a traction, you can grab the opposite elbows and dangle here. And again, when you're breathing, focus into these lower ribs. If you can soften through the upper belly, lower ribs, you're going to feel the shoulder blades release quite a bit. And that release might actually feel like cramping. So when you feel muscles start to cramp as you're stretching, keep breathing and softening into it and allow those muscles to fully release. If we've got chronic tension, then it is going to be uncomfortable to get muscles to release. So you're going to need to breathe into it and allow that cramp to happen and then to release on its own. Okay, so for this next pose, I'm just going to rotate so that you have a better view. You can stay right where you are. Your feet are going to be hip width apart. You're going to take one of the blocks, place it in under your right foot. Put the right foot on top of it, and then just make sure your toes are lined up still, your heels are lined up. You may or may not need this other block, okay? It's there for your support if you need it. What we're going to do is straighten out that right leg as much as you can. So both heels are down. Right leg is straight, so right hip pops up. You're going to feel this along the IT band in the right leg, the hamstring. You might feel this up into the glute, the low back. And then this other block is here for support if you need it in any way, shape, or form. Okay? And if you don't need it, you just set it off to the side. Again, we're working on dropping the head, letting the weight of the head traction out through the upper spine. And you're resisting that lift in the hip with your right rib cage. So as my right hip lifts up and I really press into the right leg, I'm actually sending my right rib cage and my right shoulder more towards my right toes. I'm gently bending the right knee. I'm going to take the right foot off of the block and then swap feet with the block. So the block comes under the left foot comes up onto it, toes are in line, heels are in line. And then I start to straighten out that left leg again. Again, you might need a block. So just because you didn't need a block on one side doesn't mean you won't need it on the other. The body is not symmetrical and it does what it wants. Honor it. As you are melting into this, again, head relaxes, neck is long. As that left hip lifts up and I press the left thigh backwards, I'm countering that by sending my left rib cage, left shoulder down towards my toes, letting the head hang. Let your jaw relax. This is hip work, which always means the jaw wants to help. So relax through your face as much as you can. Breathe deeply into this. See if you can relax your shoulders a little bit more. And bending the left knee. Release the foot off of the block. You can set the blocks up in front of you. And hang again for a moment in downward facing dog, in a forward fold. And then you are going to take your blocks back forward into downward facing dog. And chances are you've got a little bit more space through the backs of the legs, through the low back and the hips. You're gonna roll forward into plank, step the right foot forward between the two hands. Take your blocks, turn them up on their high ends. We'll come back to those in a second. But first, we want to roll up into a lunge. So I'm, again, just like in that upward facing dog that we did a few minutes ago, I'm using that back leg. It's super engaged. And I'm driving my left thigh bone down and forward towards my right foot, peeling my belly up and away from my thigh, and then taking my heart up towards the ceiling. Arms can come up, or if you'd rather, keep them on your hips. Feel free. So my hips are moving forward and my whole torso from essentially right above my pelvis to the top of my head is actually tipping backwards and up. And then I'm going to keep that backwards feeling and just lift the shoulders on top of the hips. So I'm still drawing the whole torso backwards, bend the right knee a little bit deeper. Arms are going to come up. So right leg is forward, right arm is going to go back, left arm is going to come forward. Okay. So we're rotating into ourselves, sink the hips down a little bit deeper. Keep engaging through that left leg, the back leg, sending that thigh bone down and forward. If you want to go a little bit deeper here, you can take your right hand to that outer left thigh, walk it down, and bring the left arm up, turning the eyes down past your right butt cheek towards the mat. Float the arms up if you took it down, and then the arms are going to come all the way up. Hands will come down onto those blocks. Now straighten out your right leg. Leave that left heel lifted, but just melt it back. Okay, so we're going to open up through the Achilles. Start with the blocks up on high. You'll be able to change this to a lower setting if you'd like in a second. But I want you to think, sink the left heel back and then press your pelvis back towards the back of your mat. And lengthen your belly towards your knee, your heart towards your big toe, and your head towards the wall in front of you. So we're really trying to flatten out that spine. Pull the right hip back, send the whole pelvis backwards. And again, we've got a nice open chest, shoulder, and neck space. And if you feel like lowering the blocks down, you're welcome to do that. What we're looking for is a continuation of that spine being able to be nice and long, the chest and upper back and neck being open. So if you're like, I can get down to the ground, but you kind of have to, hunch and look like this to do so, then you definitely want to come up onto your blocks so that you can find that nice openness through your torso. Take a couple more breaths here. And then rebend the right knee. Set your blocks down on their lowest setting. Bring the heel of the hand to the edge of the blocks and then step back into plank and then press up and back, downward facing dog. Right leg is going to feel much more open than the left. Then you roll forward, step that left foot forward between the two hands. Bring the blocks up high to start. And then we're going to roll ourselves up. Coming back into that same idea from the up dog, we take the right thigh and we drive it down and forwards towards the left foot. From there, I lift the belly up and away from the left thigh, and I'm leaning the whole body backwards, or I'm pulling the whole upper body backwards. From there, I tip the chest up, and my hands can be on my hips or lifted towards the ceiling. And really push through your big toe. So oftentimes we'll kind of roll towards the little toe and the heel will swing out. I want you to think about really pressing through that big toe so you stretch through the whole arch of the foot. So hips go forward, upper body goes back, heart lifts up. And then the torso comes back upright. Arms come up if they're not already there. Left arm goes back, right arm comes forwards. Keep engaged through that right leg. Maybe bend the left knee a little bit more. And if you'd like to come deeper, left hand comes to the outer edge of the right leg. Right arm comes up and we turn the head to look down at the floor behind our left butt cheek. Keep lifting the front of the pelvis up and away from the thighs. Load everything back up. Arms come up and then they come down onto the blocks. Left leg lengthens out, sink into your right heel. Starting off with the blocks nice and high, press the hips towards the back of the mat. Lengthen your belly towards your knee, your heart towards your big toe, and the crown of your head towards the wall in front of you. So the shoulders, the chest, and the neck are nice and open and long. We're just relaxed into that right leg. Left hip pulls back a little bit more. Try to find a bit more length through the front side of your belly. And if you want to come down a little bit lower, feel free. And again, we're looking for that nice long torso. So none of the rounding, all of the opening. And then rebending the knee, taking those blocks down onto their low side, placing the hands at the back edge, step the left foot back, come up and back into downward facing dog. Legs should feel a bit more even now. Lowering the knees down. You're going to keep the hips on top of the knees. And again, walk the blocks forward to drop the heart and the head down. So this should probably feel significantly easier. If it does, pick the blocks up to the next height. and do the same thing, or take them all the way up to the top height and do the same thing. Press into the hands, roll up. We're gonna have a seat on our heels. I'm just gonna create a little space in my knee for this. And we're gonna stretch out the tops of the feet. So from here, you're just gonna lean back and lift the knees up as much as is comfortable. Gently release and set yourself up warmth-wise for Shavasana. We're gonna do one more twist on our backs, but you might as well make yourself warm and cozy first. Once you are warm and cozy, you're just going to come flat on your back, pull your knees into your chest, give them a little hug, give you a little rock, back and forth. You're gonna take the left leg, wrap it in front of the right. And then as much as it's comfortable, you can wrap that left foot around the right ankle. Not necessary at all. You can just leave it here in a nice tight cross. Put your knees in towards your chest as much as you can, and then drop them over to the right. Left arm is gonna come out to the side. Palm is turned up for extra stretch through the chest and shoulder. And let the head turn towards the knees. That's going to open up through the neck and chest a little bit more. Taking a deep breath in. As you exhale, push into your right elbow and your right foot. Rotate those knees up and then unwind them as you bring them back center. Give them a little hug again. And then cross the right in front of the left. Wind up the legs as much as feels comfortable. Pull the knees up nice and tight towards your chest and then drop them over to the left. Right arm comes out to the side this time with the palm turned up, and the head again turns towards the knees to encourage a little more opening through the chest and shoulder. and pressing into your left elbow and your left foot. Rotate the knees up, unwind them, and pull them back center. Grabbing hold of the knees, give it a little rock again. Grab hold of the feet between the knees. In a little butterfly position. Take hold of the feet or the ankles or the shins, whatever is available to you. And releasing those legs, feet to the floor. Lengthen the legs down the mat. Drop the arms open out to the side, the palms up. Take a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Letting the whole body surrender a little bit more with each exhale. And to deepen your breath, feeling the breath flood into the fingers, into the toes. Allowing the breath to lead sensation through the whole body. Wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes. Roll rotating the legs in and then letting them flop back out a couple times. And then bending one knee, foot to the floor, the other knee, foot to the floor. Tuck the tail, reach the arms towards the sky, and then cross them over the body. Give yourself a little hug. Rolling over onto your side, and then pressing yourself up. And back to seated. Arms rest on the legs, palms turned up. Shoulders are soft. Neck is long. And we come back to our hara, our power source in our third chakra, solar plexus. We connect that in to the center of the earth and the center of the solar system. We connect ourselves back into our knowing that at all moments we are both giving and receiving, that everything that we need is already on our way to us. We just have to be open to the package that it arrives in, and that we always have the opportunity to say, I'm ready to let this go. Please take this from me in the highest and best way, with ease, joy, and glory. Bring our palms together to heart center. Take a second to honor this physical body, this meat soup suit that we get to walk around in this lifetime. And that as much as our physical body might challenge us, might stress us out, might bum us out sometimes even, it is an absolute miracle. And we forget about it all the time. So just take a second to bask in the glory that is this body. Thank it for everything it does. Thank you so much for being here with me. Namaste.